And we are live here at Bald&Balding, and we have a wonderful
Wow.
guest.
I'm a gift.
You
About
are.
3 seconds in and you're balling this up. Well done.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we have a wonderful guest with us today, RK Ashwick. She is one of the SPFBO 9 finalists. And despite that wonderful smile she has, she threw elbows and did everything she could to trample on other people to get to the finals.
Yes. Absolutely.
Oh, is this someone else that was in your group, Mike?
No. Katie Andrews is the one who just, with the combat boots and just, trampled us all. So I have nothing against RK. And she is the author of the book, and Rove, just for you, I'll put it in front of my face.
Nice.
A Rival Most Vile. RK, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
You are in the is that a backdrop or is that actually your house?
No, it's my kitchen.
Okay.
And my cat. She showed
brightest...
up. Leia. Hi, good girl. Look. All right, she's gonna move on. Okay.
So Leia is named in honor of the princess?
She is indeed. She is not nearly as smart as her namesake. I would say she maybe has a quarter of the brain cells that Princess Leia does, but she works with what she's got.
She acts like she's royalty, though, right?
Yes.
I saw something today. It said, cats used to be worshipped as gods, and they have not forgotten.
It's true.
Yeah,
it is true.
Absolutely.
She really enjoys being the only cat in the household.
Oh well, yeah, she's the only one. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You don't ever want to get her a playmate?
I don't think we have the room. And my husband, he never grew up with animals or anything. So it was a big conversation just to get the one cat. And I'm like, I'm not going to push my luck here.
One day when he's sleeping on the couch, just come home with a little tiny kitten and put it on his sleeping chest.
Oh, he would kill me.
Sees the kitten there, you're in.
I really wish, I mean, I'm very lucky in that I am Leia's favorite. But I do wish that she cuddled with him more frequently because I think it would really help their relationship. And he also gives off more heat. I'm like, Leia, you're really not being smart here. You picked the wrong person to cuddle with.
Let him be the one to feed her for a couple of weeks.
He does feed her. He feeds her almost every morning. And then if
Really?
I'm gone, he feeds her. Yeah. So she's no excuse for me to be the favorite. But it's fine.
So this edition of Cat Talk is wrapped up then.
Sorry.
No, God, we do this all the time. We'll be lucky if we talk about your book in the next 40 minutes.
Fair.
So we saw the cover of it again. Thank you. Remind us. So you write a little bit in the romantic kind of genre or subgenre?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I write a cozy fantasy romance.
Wow. Okay. So you get a whole lot of things in there. And I think you are the first person who's even really put romance anywhere in their genre description of anyone we've had here, right, Mike?
Katie's book was a married couple, but...
Yeah, well, I have a married couple in my books too, but they're nowhere near a romance. Because, I've been married so long that they are now people who have been married a long time.
And just so you know, RK, that Ro is confident his wife will never watch any of these videos, so he can say these things.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, so
she might. You never know. But not going to tell me if she does. So okay, cozy fantasy romance.
Mm-hmm.
Now the word cozy in there with romance is fine, but the word cozy with fantasy, how's that work?
It is. I don't want to say it's a fairly new genre because that genre has been around for a long time, but I think that term hasn't been used as frequently really until Legends and Lattes came around. I don't know if you're familiar with Legends and Lattes, mm-hmm. where it's the book takes place in a high fantasy D&D-esque world, but rather than hi Kat, Leia's going to explain this to you. But rather than deal with people actually fighting the monsters and doing all the heroic things, the adventure is retired and opens up a coffee shop. And that's really the whole premise of the book. So there really isn't a lot of violence. It's very low stakes, and very much deals with found family and a cozy feel. And you can just feel very comfortable reading the book, and it's not very stressful. So while cozy fantasy is very broad, I think that's a very good example of it, where like you can have this high fantasy backdrop that you're expecting, but you're dealing with I don't want to say smaller lives because that makes it sound boring, but like kind of romancing the more mundane aspects of life, thinking about like, well, what are the NPCs doing while the adventurers are out doing their thing?
I was just going to say, it sounds more like instead of being the adventurer, you were the guy in the shop who was handing over like, here's 8 healing potions and a singing +2 sword, give me all your gold kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that's literally in Rival Most Vile. That's literally what Rosamond Street is. It's a street of merchants who sell the goods to the adventurers. So you have obviously Ambrose and Eli are the potion makers. You have an armor, you have an artificer, you have a magic jeweler. And so you have a wand maker. And so, yeah, they all service the adventurers who are then going out and fighting dragons.
So what's your plot line like then? I mean, what's the conflict that drives the potion makers?
It very much follows a rivals to lovers forced proximity romance trope. Thanks, Morgan. Hi, Morgan. So Ambrose is the original potion maker on Rosamond Street. He's been there for years. Eli moves in and sets up a potion shop right across the street from him. And so now he has competition. And then as their relationship sours, they end up having to work on a commission together, ordered by the mayor. And so they are kind of thrown together to work on this thing together. And then they fall in love in the process.
I think I could write for 100 years and never, ever come up with that.
Really?
Just the fact that, okay, 2 potion makers, fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there with you on that. But then when you start saying, but they don't work together, they're rivals, and then they have to work together I don't know, I guess because I've just read traditional fantasy so much.
Right. It's really a blending of a very traditional high fantasy world, because you've got orcs and gnomes and elves, and you've got the adventurers and all that, and very much blending it with some pretty big romance tropes, rivals to lovers, forced proximity, having to work on a project together, that sort of thing. Yeah, and I just it came to me one night was just the phrase like rival potion shops, and I was like, oh. Yeah, that sounds cool. And then I didn't do anything with it for a couple months. And then gradually I was like, but what if I went back to that idea a little bit? And so it just kept brainstorming from there.
I mean, those are the ideas, though, aren't they? There's something that you say, oh, that's a cool idea, and then you don't think about it, but it just kind of eats away at the back of your brain a little bit until you give it room to play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, to interpret what Ro was saying, what he did not say was that he's very old. That's why.
I'm not that much older than you.
I did not say I was young. I have never said I am young.
John, we're going to disagree with you immensely. Okay, we haven't really disagreed with anybody in our chat here yet. But he said fantasy is one thing, but you add cozy and romance, and it just gets worse. Not necessarily.
Wow.
I think because Morgan said it's really good. He's in the middle of reading it. It sounds really good. I mean, I'm interested, and it's always nice to read. I mean, I'm kind of like a cozy mystery guy when I'm listening to stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. You're right. It's just you don't have to worry about getting tense and holding on to it, and kind of biting your fingernails, and just you kind of let it flow, and it can be in the background. And if you have to listen to it again, so be it. It's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are definitely higher stakes cozy fantasy. I would say that my first book, Stray Spirit, is higher stakes, but still has a cozy atmosphere. And yeah, there's a huge range in terms of what you're looking for cozy fantasy. They can get a little dark, they can get like a little violent. The boundaries are a little fuzzy, and it's always kind of up for debate on what it really means, which is kind of cool, I think. But of course, it's not everybody's thing. So.
Yeah, I think no, John. We're not outing you here, John. We're not saying anything horrible, and we understand it's your opinion, and that's fine. Just we have the microphone, so it's our opinion too. What the hell was I going to say? Damn. Oh, yeah.
Mike, you look very young. That's what you're going to say.
Thank you. So I take it there's probably just not as much as people getting run through with swords and things.
Correct. Yeah. Maybe not as much as the other SPFBO books. I think there's one other like cozy book in the SPFBO finalist lineup. I think everything else is much darker.
Okay.
But I'm still looking forward to reading them.
So yeah, I'm working my way through them. So I'm on Ed's now, which is definitely not cozy.
No.
What? Yeah, I mean, a cozy. I mean, you don't have to really get into what's the human anatomy pain points, right?
No, not really.
Start going through that book. How much would it hurt if I ripped someone's kneecap off? With a can opener. It's like, so what? Do you write full time?
No. Mm-mm. I have a full-time job and I write on the side.
What's your full-time gig?
Oh, thanks, Morgan. I work in animation production. So I'm not on the creative side. I'm on the scheduling side of things. Really like the herding cats side of things.
Oh, right. Yeah. And there's a lot of that in that world too.
Yes.
Yeah. I've never been around animation people. When I was in the service, I did have a chance to work with some of the folks from Spielberg's group when the Red Tails came out in 2012.
Okay.
And we had the opportunity to do a premiere showing of that before, like a week or two before it released to theaters at a big symposium we were doing in San Antonio. And my God, it was so crazy. The list of things like, this is what we need, and trying to work all of that stuff together. And then they bring it out and they say, okay, this movie's not a digital thing. We get to push this button once to test it for 2 minutes. And the next time we push it is the last time we push it. Right. There's just so much kind of secrecy and about all of it. It was kind of amazing to see it.
Yeah, I believe it.
So we have to get to our favorite topic on these SPFBO 9 interviews. What's been going on in the chat?
The latest addition to the chat, which I have been really appreciating, but I've been bad at contributing in, is the food channel. So people are just posting like, oh, I have this for lunch. I made this for dinner. And people are posting amazing things. And I'm just sitting here with my like 5-day-old leftovers being like, yeah.
What, is that a spice rack behind you?
It is.
There's like 80 things on that.
I'm not very good at using it. Or like, I made a thing, but it's not very like, I don't know.
So it's like a prop
isn't really photo worthy.
It
does look very nice.
Thank you. Thanks.
Because we thought, with this whole setup that you were probably the instigator of all the food talk on that thing.
I do like to bake. I haven't really baked anything recently that I can post a photo of, but I do like to bake stuff. Yeah.
Do you watch the Great British Baking Show?
Yes. I got behind on the last season, but yeah, I usually do watch it.
Have you watched the latest season?
I watched the first episode of the latest season.
Recently?
No, a while ago.
Okay. I don't know if you remember who it is. Yeah, I wish you would have watched the whole season because I want to say something about it now, but I don't want to tell you who wins.
No, I think I do know who wins because I was originally in it's like fantasy football, but for Great British Baking Show. I was in that with my friends. And so even though I got behind in watching the episodes, I got to see all their reactions on like, oh, I can't believe this person pulled through. Or like, oh my God, did you see she dropped this thing today? And I was like, oh, like eating popcorn. Like, yeah, okay. So I think I learned who won, but of course my brain does not remember. So it's fine. You can spoil it.
Oh, I won't, but I'm certainly now intrigued and I want to know more about this fantasy football version of the Great British Baking Show because that is required watching here. And whenever we leave the house, we leave it on for the cats.
Love that. My friends came up with the rules. You basically, oh gosh, how do we do? We like pick to each person. We have like, it's a small group. So each person gets 2 bakers. and then you get points for like how far they last. You get points if they get a Paul handshake. You get points if they get Star Baker. You get points if they win a technical. And I want to say that they added some rules this year on like if somebody drops something or like other little like things that can happen. But those are the basic rules. And then, of course, whoever has the most points at the end wins.
Do you have any rules that you would like to see instituted onto that program?
I kind of think that maybe
it has everything to do with your book. I'm sorry. But.
Yes. No, it is very
cozy.
important stuff. I would
Right.
say like,
it's the cozy angle that we're attacking right now.
Speaking of cozy, Ed is here.
Ed, hi Ed. I think it would be interesting to do like negative points if somebody like drops a bake or just like completely gives up, like that one guy with the like Alaskan ice cream dessert that he just completely binned.
The
that
Irish
was
dude, yeah.
But
See, I always think that if they get Star Baker, they should get a little pin with a star, right?
yeah.
Like each one can be worth like 1,000 pounds or something. Not on that show in particular, but on like the other cooking shows like Top Chef. I've always thought they should do, you know how they do the challenge and you win immunity? They should give them the option. You can have $10,000 or immunity.
Oh wow!
Which one do you want?
So that I think that would make it like really competitive, though. And I think
but it would really make people. But you have that choice, right? And if you take the cash, somebody else gets the immunity, right?
Oh, interesting.
And if you don't take the cash, it rolls over to the next time, right? That way, there's very, very rarely would there someone have immunity in the show, and I think it would just make it a lot more interesting.
Interesting. I would really like to see a one-off episode where it's all of the current and past hosts. So like Mel and Sue and Noel, and I'm not remembering the other names, but I want all of them to have to bake something because I think Noel mentioned once that he's never baked anything in his life.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd eat anything that he made.
No, I would just want to see the process. Oh, it's kind of like their holiday ones where they just have celebrities come on and the celebrities just kind of have like slowly have a mental breakdown as they try to bake this thing.
Noel is actually on a new show I just saw on Netflix, some Dick Turpin thing. Oh, I haven't watched it yet, but I'm absolutely going to because it looks just stupid enough to be super funny.
That's the hope, at least.
So when did you start writing? We're just going to like just jump. We're going to jump back and forth to things like rush changes, time signatures. It'd be all good.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like just like writing for funsies, I was 6 years old or something like that. In terms of specifically writing books that I wanted to get out into the world, I started like many people. I started during COVID. I kind of went back into it, and I think it was really NaNoWriMo where I was like, I mean, I don't do anything else this year, so might as well just write a book in a month. And that was the very first iteration of Stray Spirit, 2019 was actually the first iteration of Stray Spirit. And then COVID 2020, I was like, well, I mean, that was kind of a garbage draft, but I can probably rewrite it. And then I just kept editing it from there.
And how many books do you have now?
I have Stray Spirit, Rival, and then Spirit Well coming out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell us about this one coming out in 2 weeks. Now's your chance to plug your book coming out in 2 weeks.
Oh boy, plugging stuff. So Stray Spirit is a higher stakes cozy fantasy about a bard who gets a forest spirit trapped in his lute, and he has to go to his ex-girlfriend to help him get the spirit out. And they form a cute little trio as they run around saving the world. And then the Spirit Well is the sequel to that. They are now, the bard has now joined the prestigious musical guild and is working on his debut. The forest spirit has joined him, and then the researcher, the ex-girlfriend, now his girlfriend, is a spirit researcher. And they are informed that there's a whole city of spirits that are dying, and they need to investigate and save the spirits. While Emery is also trying to propose to Cal and handle his music debut. So he has a lot going on.
Wow, so do you.
Thanks.
It seems like that would, from the writing part of it, from the craft part of it, that this would actually be a lot more difficult than just writing hack and slash dungeon crawls, because you have to be a lot more nuanced with your plot lines, right? Because it's not just like, ooh, that guy's bad, kill.
I don't know. I think it depends on how much you enjoy writing fight scenes. I find fight scenes really difficult to write.
They're really boring to write, and they're not that exciting to read. I tend to skip them. But I guess what I mean is all the stuff that you just described goes into a lot more kind of development of people and area and, you know, their background into what they're doing, and just it just seems a lot more involved on several different levels than, you know.
Potentially. I'm trying to think of like an example of like just a hack and slash book that I've read recently, but I really like, I don't know, I haven't. A lot of the ones that I'm thinking of are like ones that are still really deep in political intrigue or character backstory. So like just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of like Game of Thrones. I'm thinking of the Mistborn series. And those are all still like really, really heavy on multiple characters and following them across this like lush series. So I don't know that I was going to say, Mike, one of the questions I was going to ask you was, how do you stay in the same world for 7 books? Because that sounds really difficult to me. At max, I'm going to do like 3.
So when I started my series, it was going to be a 4-book series, and now I've written 4 of the 7 books. Well, in my case, I decided to write epic fantasy in first-person present tense.
Mm-hmm.
And my main character is a druid who's an introvert who wants to stay in the forest by himself.
Understandable.
So it's really hard to get 2 kingdoms to go to war when you're just out there talking to squirrels.
Yep.
So now it's 7 books. I have 3 novella collections. So all the side characters that he meets that don't die because of him, they're all going to get their own 150-page adventure so that I can move this story forward. So it's not just him talking to owls.
But what if I want a book of just him talking to owls? See, that would be a cozy fantasy.
That would be
just
cozy. Absolutely.
the druid talking to owls.
It kind of is, I guess. Your first one kind of is a cozy fantasy.
So I felt so bad because in the BBNY, they read the first chapter like, oh my God, I love this. I think it's cozy. And I'm like, no, there's a bloodbath coming. I'm like, I'm so sorry. You will be very disappointed in about 14 chapters.
Well, to your point about Game of Thrones, I mean, I think the reason they have so many characters is because he killed so many characters, right? And I think part of me wants to think, okay, he just didn't want to have to develop anybody, right? Or he had ideas for like 3 characters that he really wanted to develop, and then the rest of the people he just would play with until he got bored, and then he'd find some way to end them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I loved, and of course, Tyrion in the books has a very different journey than the show, but I loved Tyrion. Tyrion's chapters were always my favorite.
You read the books?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've started reading the books, but I've known a lot of people who
back in college when like the show was still like really good. It was like must-watch TV. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to read the book. So I, ran through all of them. Wait, so Ambrose? No, Morgan, surprisingly, they don't have a bloody fight to the death at the end of Ravenlow's File. I know that that's shocking and surprising and depressing for people, but, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, they have a happy ever after.
You should have said spoiler before you said that.
Sorry, spoiler.
You said that you would find it difficult to have a big series, but your series seems to be kind of set up perfectly to be a very large series, because if you have this street with all of these different shops, there's nothing saying that every book has to be about these 2 potion makers, right? You could do a book about the wand maker. You could do a book about whatever. Mm-hmm. You could write the rest of your life in this world.
I suppose I could. I think I would just get bored. I get far more excited about thinking of completely new characters and new ideas than I am with series. And of course, I've never really written series before, so this is all very new territory to me. But one thing I am planning on doing is, so I've got a trilogy planned for this. So it'd be Capture Cauldron this year, Draft for a Dragon next year. And then I also have a short story about Sherry, the armor, that came out this past fall. And then after Captured Cauldron releases, I'm hoping I can do a short story about Grim the jeweler and a short story about Banneker the armor. So everybody is kind of covered. And then I'm also in book 3 setting up a location that could potentially be a spin-off series, but I haven't decided yet.
So for now, you've got 3 books, and they're all from different things?
I have Stray Spirit and Spirit Well. This is from one series, the Lute Song series. And then I have Ravenous Vial from the Side Quest Row series. And then both of them will be trilogies. So that means that Lute Song is almost done. That'll wrap up next year. And then, both might actually wrap up next year if I can keep up my pace of releasing 2 a year, which is difficult. But yeah.
So I have a question.
No. The one you got coming out in 2 weeks, that's the second one of the other series that you just showed us?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
sorry, Mike. I just needed to clarify that in my head. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Well, I want to ask about that. I'm like, how can you be so calm and composed when you have a book coming out in 2 weeks? What is this magic that you do?
I try to make a point of finishing the books like months in advance so that I have time to like upload to the distribution sites, because those can take weeks just to process. That I have time to do ARCs and pre-order goodies. Ed, yeah, really leaning into the capitalistic element of this book. So the book itself, it's all good to go. The ARCs and pre-orders I announced back in February, which there are still ARCs available, and I do still have pre-order goodies available, and I really like sending them out. And then I just planned out the rest of like my social media stuff, because that stuff is always really annoying.
You plan social media? Wow.
Yeah.
My next question is how on earth can you say this book is done? I'll publish it in like 4 months, and I won't go back and tweak this or that or 17 other things, because I pretty much get to the point like, okay, it's done. I can publish now. Go. Because otherwise I will go back and I'll just one more time through.
I think for this one in particular, it was so difficult for me to get right. And I mean, who knows if I did or not, but that I was just like, I can't look at it anymore. I'm good. I'm done. Also, Morgan, yes, this is a sticker that I designed in a bookmark that I designed.
Do you do some of your own art?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the middle of Ravenous File, there are, I'm trying to find them, illustrations. They're like little like blueprints.
Oh, nice.
From each merchant on Rosamond Street, and I made those. So, yeah. I wanted to do like a cool thing in the middle of the book. Like, I don't know if you guys ever did like scholastic book fairs in school. Oh, thanks, Morgan. When there's like
for a quarter.
When there's like, in Scholastic, they would have like the cool editions of the books with like, oh, there's a poster in the middle of the book. Well, I can't really put in a poster, but I can put in some illustrations. So that's what I wanted to do.
That's a very useful ability to have as a writer, to be able to make your own art and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you look like you want to say something.
I was just thinking that just means that I have to write something about chemistry, because I can draw benzene rings with the best of them.
Great.
I don't know if I can do a cozy fantasy involving chemists, though.
I was going to say, please don't look too closely at the Ambrose Eli illustrations. I took a lot of liberties in terms of what a magic chemist would write.
It's fantasy. You're fine.
Thanks.
Mike, I think if you wrote a story about modern chemists, it couldn't be anything but a cozy.
You don't know the cutthroat life of chemists.
I don't see chemists throwing down. I just
in the sequel to Ravenous Vial, there's a Potioneers convention, and they do get into, there's a whole like debate section, and some of them do start throwing punches.
But those are alchemists.
Yeah, I guess.
Chemists.
It's really leaning into the vitriolic held opinions of like academia.
So you got one guy that believes that gold can be made from lead.
Right.
Freaking Pepsi chemistry.
Yeah, that's cozy.
So I just have to tell you that this picture right here,
Mm-hmm.
the guy had on his website, and he called it The Chemist, which meant I was like, I must buy it. I want it.
That's all it takes for you to buy something? Shit, dude, I got some stuff for you.
I want a Lego Chemist.
It's all called. Give me a minute. I've got one.
Someone is crazy about Legos here, so.
I've got
Oh,
one
okay.
somewhere.
We have been talking. Someone must have mentioned this. You're right, Ed. You're right. Yeah, the debate devolves from that point on. But someone in the SPFBO channel was mentioning that they were also really into Lego, and they were talking about the Lego Rivendell set. If you have that, it would make a lot of people very jealous.
Yeah, it's like $600 or $800 or some nonsense for that. I'm looking for something up here. Sorry, looking for Dr. Bunsen Honeydew. I've got him up here somewhere.
I love them.
See, Morgan, we have so many things in common. You need to be on our show.
I have a Lego typewriter back here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I see it. That's very cool.
Morgan, promise him Lego.
It's true.
Yeah, Rivendell set is
Thank you,
stunning.
Morgan.
Maybe that should be the prize for SPFBO.
Oh, a Lego set? Oh my God.
Oh,
That
no.
would be awesome.
That would get cutthroat.
There is no prize, right? I would do it. I would do it, Ed. I will second this motion.
Oh my God.
So,
Dude, if you don't do it after that, I mean, hell. There are very few things I wouldn't do, I think, around that time.
So, RK, I have to ask you, because we mentioned to Josiah off air, but that after we finish with all these interviews with the SPFBO 9 wonderful finalists, that we're going to try to get Mark Lawrence on our show. And Josiah's like, oh, I would love to talk. I have several questions I'd like to ask Mark Lawrence. So are you in that boat too? Would you like to?
I mean, yeah, I would be happy to talk to him. I don't think I would maybe grill him as much as Josiah would, but I would be there eating popcorn for sure.
Because I'm thinking I want to try to see if we can get him on the show and just go, okay, we have all SPFBO 9 finalists asking the questions. Go.
That would be really cool. That would be awesome.
And talking to who?
Mark Lawrence, the one who runs SPFBO.
Oh, right. Yeah. That actually would be really cool. Yeah.
So that's the idea that's been bouncing around in my head when I should be working.
Nice. That's a good thought. That's a good idea.
I'm glad you don't do anything important at your work. I'm glad you're not like trying to discover a cure for cancer or something.
Well, I am kind of a potion maker. I make lotions and sunscreens and whatnot. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Montague is here and late as normal, 33 minutes into this thing.
Oh, man, this is normally when I cut him off.
Good God, man. I was going to ask something else, too. I really got to start writing down questions. Come on, Mike, help me out, man. I'm just sitting here with a blank look on my face. I'm trying to think of what it was I was trying to think of.
I was just going to wait patiently for you, Ro.
Jesus, you're a mess.
Let you sit in the hot seat.
So,
who do you think's going to win?
We would have questions. Oh, gosh, who do I think is going to win?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Let you guys run with that for a while.
No, I feel like we talk about this a lot in the chat. Specifically, I do not read the reviews and I don't look at the numbers because it would just stress me out and just would not serve me in any way. But I know a lot of other people in the chat are very much like, I'm going to read all the reviews. I'm going to look at the numbers. And so I'm just kind of following in on their like evaluations on who they think is going to win. I think Master of the Void, I would agree with Morgan, but I know Master of the Void just got like a really good review, and I know there's like a bunch more coming in from maybe people who will be a little bit spicier with their numbers. So I don't know. I kind of think it's a bit of a toss-up right now. Certainly not rival. I'll say that right now. But because I mean, just like just like with I don't think Cozy Fantasy is in the wheelhouse of most of the book bloggers this year, which is fine. They all have personal preferences, but yeah, I don't think Yeah, thank you. But yeah, I don't think Cozy is really in the realm of what they are enjoying this year.
Would you say the reviews and numbers, are those the reviews of the judges?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of trickle those out little by little?
They do, yeah. And so there's currently talk on if another one will come out this week. Again, I would not look at it. But yeah, they've been kind of trickling in really ever since the end of last year. And I think it's supposed to go until like June. So it's drawn out for a pretty long time.
April 30th is the
April 30th. Okay, not June.
Do you think the
A little
people
better.
that organize this, like maybe have a bunch of reviews and say, okay, there's like 5 of the 15 that we have for this one person, so we're only going to release one of those, and then a couple for just to keep everybody kind of on a level playing field and equal amounts of angst among them?
Oh man,
That's what I would do.
I think in Morgan and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when we had last, or like I had just kind of glanced at the numbers, a lot of people were really close together just by like a couple like point something points.
Yep.
Spindle is currently in the lead. Okay. So yeah, it seemed like it's pretty close even with the reviews kind of trickling out, but I'm sure it's not like that every year.
So Mark had a post where he said that with like 7 weeks to go, there are still 40 scores that are needed. So yeah, it's going to start coming fast and furious.
I'm going to continue to not look at any of that.
So this is just a place where you guys can go and look at it, but nobody else can?
No, it's online.
Is it?
Yeah, I think both the reviews and the numbers are all public.
They just get the chat row. We don't get to be in the chat. We have to ask them about them.
Like, Discord bunker.
Because there's not a peephole for the chat room. So, this is the next best thing.
So where can you find these numbers?
I'll send you the link. I have it. Because I check it every day just for fun.
Do you?
I do. Well, I don't have a lot to do at work, apparently.
Apparently. Yeah. Mark has a scoreboard. Okay. So I guess if you wanted to, you could next year do a fantasy football kind of thing with these guys as opposed to the baking show.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I mean, in theory, you're right.
And above or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I won't have a book to submit next year, so I get to just lounge back and watch everybody else. Oh, nice. Watch everybody else stress out.
I think you should do that at the semifinal stage. You should have a group and do, everyone pick your books. Who do you think is going to make it to the finals? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of unwieldy with 300 books. So I'd say wait till like the semifinalists and then pick from there.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I would totally think that's the way to go.
I think you can turn anything into fantasy football. I mean, if you can turn Great British Baking Show into fantasy football, then,
So.
That is an awesome show, though. Let's be serious.
In Row,
it is an awesome show.
It is. In Row, you're entering Spiff Box, right?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
See,
Spiff Box.
I'm sure I'll be on the computer in the 36 seconds that it's available this year.
Yeah, oh man, that if I ever submit in the future, that's really, really going to stress me out because it was nuts this year.
I was in it for, like a minute or so before they got rid of me. But anyway, they kept talking like, you'll have plenty of time. Don't stress. And I'm like, no, I'm looking at the time it takes. And every year I'm like, no, you're going to have to move. Mm-hmm. So I did everything in a Word document. And I just cut, paste, hit enter. I did it in under a minute and I was the 15th person.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, well then. I
wonder if there's a way to optimize that or something. Because I think when I had to submit, it was like 4 or 5 a.m. my time. And so I totally get people where it might be like, 1 a.m. their time where it's just like not feasible for them to submit in the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. For people, it's like 2 or 3. It's like, do you stay up or do you trust you're going to get, oh God, that'd be horrible.
Yeah.
So, we have a new guest. Welcome.
Hey, Soul Free Wolf. Is that short for something?
What after this
$100 quick? Okay, go ahead.
After these 2 series are complete next year, because I have faith in you,
Thank you.
what's next?
I don't know. And I'm kind of trying to leave it to I don't know, just so I don't feel like I'm locked into something years in advance. There's always the spin-off that I'll set up in book 3 for Ravenous File. Not like a crazy setup, just kind of like opening the door. So that's an option. I also have oh man, how do I describe it? Like a modern day, almost paranormal romance in mind, which is very different than these. And so I'm like a little bit hesitant, but I'm still excited about the idea. But I'm kind of waiting to see what speaks to me after the end of next year, because who knows what will happen. That's a whole year away. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to guess you're not a big plotter then.
No, I am a very big plotter.
Really?
Yes, my outlines are in chart form. And so I have like, here are the chapters, here are this like summaries of the chapters. This is like the A plot, the romance plot, the other character arcs, making sure I'm like, oh crap, I forgot about that character arc for 8 chapters. It used to be color coded, and then I was like, whatever, I don't have time for that. But yeah, once I have the idea set, I usually plot it all out.
No, okay.
Did you pick that up from working where you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of see a lot of that thing going on and just get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not very good at just like, oh, thanks, Wendt. I'm not very good at just like opening up a doc and being like, yeah, I'll just write whatever. Like I get very stuck, and I'm like, I need some kind of guidance. And so I usually find that helps me draft a little bit faster if I have kind of a sense of what's going to go into each chapter.
If you could teach us pantsers if you could find a way to teach us to legitimately plot something out in a way that didn't suck, you would be rich.
And don't include me as a pantser. I that scares me worse than just about anything. The idea I'm just going to start writing until I find that corner I can't get out of.
Yeah.
No.
That's the fun part, is writing your way out of it. But it's just the headache is trying to. Pantsers generally, they might like scratch the odd note down here, and I say generally, I mean me, might scratch the odd note down, but you're trying to keep things in your head. And as you know, Mike, you don't know yet, but as you get older, your head turns into Swiss cheese, and you forget things like, I need to drink water today, and really. So yeah, being able to have a system that worked would be wonderful. I would love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, RK, I do want to ask a real question. I know it's your interview, but what is your feeling about Ryan's message here on the screen?
57 pages of outline wasn't enough.
That is my.
That's terrifying.
Well, so Ryan, if it makes you feel better, I have a good friend who she writes romance, and she's traditionally published, and she does extremely detailed outlines where it's basically like a beat sheet at that point, because she comes from a TV background. And so, yeah, her outlines are probably longer than that, but they're basically like all of the details that you need to know before you actually transcribe it into book form. So
I'm not knocking it. Don't get me wrong. I'm envious of it, actually. Do you use Scrivener or Word or what?
I use Scrivener.
Do you like it?
Yeah. I don't think I really use all of its like capabilities. I keep it fairly basic, but I like having the different like folders and the documents within the folders.
See, I tried to use Scrivener, and there was just so much shit going on with it that eventually I'm just like, screw this, and I just went back to Word. It's like I mean, I paid money for it, but I don't know. I think I wrote like, I don't know, a dozen chapters on it or something, and then I just went because not being used to it, and I guess maybe that was the thing, right? You have to really kind of force yourself to dig into it and get used to all the capabilities that it has and where everything is. All right.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what do you use?
I was going to say, like you, I started using Scrivener a little bit, and then I just yelled, "Get off my lawn," and I went back to Word.
I don't know. I think I've like pared down kind of my Scrivener view. And so I know they've got like the index card options and all the different like windows and stuff. I don't use a lot of that. I really just have like, the word processor in the middle. I have like my folders on the left. And then I really like the notes column on the right. So if I'm like writing a really crappy chapter 1 and I'm like, I need to go fix that, but I'm not going to go back and fix it now because it's going to mess up my flow. I can just throw it into that little notes thing. And then when I'm done, I just kind of copy and paste all those notes and I'm like, oh, look, here are some things I already need to address. So I like that element that it's a little bit, the organization is all kind of within that one system rather than having multiple Word documents that I have to have open in different windows.
Why would you need to have multiple Word documents open?
Well, if you've got like an outline Word doc and then you have like your chapter in a separate Word doc, or like if you've got a world building document that is separate and you want to also have that up for reference, I basically have all of that in like my Scrivener folder system.
Right. Okay.
So I don't have to, navigate anywhere else.
So in case you were thinking that I was not old, unlike Ro, my notepad is an actual notepad.
Good God.
And I just taped them to my monitor, and I have like it looks like the sun with all the things around it, and I have to go back in. Oh wait, chapter 13.
Oh Jesus, I would lose half the papers and then I would just be sad because it wouldn't be in my brain. It would only be on the paper. And I do have notebooks that I usually start with. I've got this fun like blue one with a little ribbon that the cat has chewed. But yeah, gosh, if it's not somewhere where I can easily get the information, I'm screwed.
Well, I was going to say, if you had yellow Post-it note like that around your computer, Leia would have them all. Like,
oh yeah, they would be chewed. They would be gone. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
My dog absolutely loves paper. So if any of these fell to the ground, it's gone. But then I won't remember it, so I won't know that I lost it. Other than it'll just like be a spot missing. I'll be like, well, if it was good, it'll come back.
But it would have to fall. You see, a house with cats is much like a house with toddlers in that they are things crawling around actively trying to destroy everything.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. My husband, he's also a writer in a very different way, but he does use the Post-it method just for sticking ideas up on the wall and just trying to kind of like order a sequence of events. They're very, very basic. They don't have all the details, but that helps him just kind of like visualize stuff.
In a very different way? How can one be a writer in a very different way?
He's a video game writer.
Oh, that is a very different way. Yeah, cool. What kind of stuff has he worked on? Sorry, I know we're supposed to be talking about your book, but
no, all good. I like talking about my husband. He works for Riot Games.
On what?
Riot Games.
Okay.
They do a lot of like live service, high skill first person shooter games.
Yeah, okay, I'm out on that. Every time I try a first person shooter game with one of those horrible, buttons here, and my guy always ends up in the corner like this, I want a joystick and a single button and I'm good.
Oh, nice, Ryan. Very nice. Yeah, my husband really likes that game.
Tetris is okay, I guess.
Tetris, wow.
Sorry.
I like Pong.
I can't stand Tetris.
This won't come as a surprise, but I really enjoy cozy games. There's a huge genre of those that are all like, if you think of Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, or I mean, those are like the really big ones. But yeah, there's a ton of just like farming sim, running a shop sim, of course, romance sims.
Like the whole Farmville kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a little bit more in depth than like mobile gaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely.
But
and that's a whole, yay, Morgan. That's a whole like overlap of like the cozy book genre and the cozy game genre. Yes, Potion Permit. I loved Potion Permit. Okay. Yeah, there's several potion games out there actually. And I'm like, well, I'm legally obligated to try those.
Those games though, they attack so being of the generation that I'm from, like when I see my kids' phones, I kind of go into apoplexia because like they will have 1,800 notifications on whatever, and I can't have that, right? If a notification comes, I need to clear it if nothing else.
Yeah.
So those type of games where you have to go through and like harvest all the stuff and then do all the things, they take over my life. So I can't play them.
I get that. Yeah, I totally understand. Potion of Permit, Ryan was asking for more details about Potion of Permit. I really liked it because there's like the combat is very simple. I need the combat to be simple. There's a lot of gathering stuff. There's a fun crafting element. You can decorate your space, very important to me. And you can romance people in the village, also very important to me. My only bummer is that they haven't expanded the romance options beyond dating. Like they haven't done like the like any marriage component or anything like that. And then I think I pretty much got through to the end of the game and I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm done. I think the ones I can really sink into are like Story of Seasons and Littlewood. So anyone out there who loves cozy games, definitely check out Littlewood because I played that thing like to death. But yeah, yes, Wend also. Yep, absolutely.
It sounds like the games you're talking about that you want could very quickly skew into something beyond cozy.
They can, yeah, and I think that there's also an overlap on what games people consider cozy because there can be. I mean, there's so often different levels of combat in cozy games, and so like some people will even say like, oh, Baldur's Gate 3 is my cozy game, and I think there's a difference between a cozy game and Morgan, thank you, because I really, really want to make a dating sim out of this book. I just could talk about it forever. Sorry, Morgan.
Morgan, where was that line of questioning 10 minutes ago, man? Let's talk about that.
Morgan has the best question of the night.
Yeah. So how would you do that? If you were going to make a game out of your book, how would you attack that?
Oh man, it would have to be it could go two different ways. You could go the Dream Daddies way, where it's like very much focused on like the romance and the conversations with the different shopkeepers and like you pick a shopkeeper to romance. Or you go more like Stardew Valley, where like you're a separate person, maybe like on the street or something, and you have to do little side quests and things like that. And like, I don't know, do you craft stuff that then you can sell? Yes, Ed, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thing is, like, I don't have any like gaming, like computer coding skills or anything like that. But if anyone wants to just, I don't know, pay me money to write the dialogue, sure. But yeah, that's what it would just be so cute and so fun. And I would get to then romance Ambrose or Eli in my game.
So
Thing is, some people would
I never thought
Skyrim cozy.
Skyrim is cozy. No,
I think there's a huge difference between just what is a comfort game and what is a cozy game.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I love Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not going to call it a cozy game, but it is a comfort game for me. So
RK, if I can just add a little piece of advice, I would not collaborate with your husband when you're making that game.
No. No.
I was going to say, doesn't your husband have contacts to people who know how to do this? It sounds like he would.
Ryan doesn't really make those kinds of games, which is fine. And it's probably for the best that I don't try like another career path at this time. I just think it would be really fun. But
it's not another career path. It's an alternate revenue stream.
Thank you. I don't think I have time for a third job, but I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, your cat would definitely not get enough attention if you had a third job.
No, she would get a lot of attention because then I would never leave my computer and then she could sit on my lap all day and I would then just turn into a statue and she'd be like, this is fine. Morgan, I have thought about it. Don't tempt me. I have thought about it.
Tempter.
What's a Twine game?
Twine, it's like Morgan, help me out here. It's kind of like you can create branching like options, like almost like choose your own adventure. It's just kind of a way to structure it, which I find fascinating and intimidating. And I should really just never. I shouldn't. I already have a problem where I amass too many hobbies, and so I can't.
Yeah, because I saw something about hobbies, bake and draw, right? And I think we've covered both of those. What's the coolest thing you've ever baked?
Oh,
you ever done like a croquembouche or whatever it is?
No, I don't do anything fancy. I had a lot of fun just making one of those cakes where you build up the layers and then you carve out the middle and you dump like M&Ms in and then you kind of cover it up. And so when you cut into it, all the M&Ms spill out. I did that for a friend. That was very fun. I do try to bake something for my releases. Oh, it's a good thing I said that because I forgot about that for Spirit Well. Oops. When Rival Most Vile came out, I was a little too sick, and so I just did 2 different kinds of hot cocoa, one for Ambrose, one for Eli. But I did a lavender lemon pound cake for the Stray Spirit release, and that was pretty good.
Well, who did you just make it for yourself?
Yeah, I just make it for myself. Me and my husband eat it. I usually post a photo of it on my newsletter for like the release day thing. It's like, oh, here's how I celebrated.
You should post a recipe for it too.
I think for that one I did,
Okay.
yeah, post a, because I don't develop the recipes myself. I go on Pinterest and I find one. I'm like, this looks cute.
So if people want to get on your mailing list, where do they go?
They can go on my website. I also have an Instagram that links to my link tree, and there's a little sign up thing there. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Potionomics. I don't think I've tried Potionomics yet, Ed. I've done Potion Permit. I have tried, there's another one, Potion Simulator, maybe. And that one wasn't quite my speed, but yeah, there's like at least 2 others that I need to try.
Sorry, I keep putting this in and out.
Lavender lemon. It is a very nice combination. Duh, that's the word. Particularly if you add a little bit of vanilla to it, it's very nice.
So what's the most difficult thing you've ever tried to bake but totally jacked up?
Oh man, is it terrible if I say pie crust? Like I went through that COVID phase where I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna master pie crust. I'm going to try it over and over until I can do it right, and I don't have to buy the Pillsbury pie crust from the grocery store. No, I did like 4 different times, and I was like, this doesn't taste any better. This is also so much more effort and work. And the Pillsbury one, I mean, sue me, but they taste fine. So
yeah, I don't think most people notice the difference too much about that.
Sorry, Tim. The food stream on the Discord makes me hungry all the time. I am very jealous. Particularly when people are like, oh, look at this barbecue, look at this pizza I made. And I'm sitting there like, I have carrots in the fridge. I don't know what to tell you.
But you live in California, right? I mean, you live next to a big city or in a big city. You must have all of everything available to you, especially a lot more Asian stuff than we get out here in the mountains of Virginia. Right.
Yes. Having grown up on the East Coast, yes. The variety of food is much bigger out here than it is there. But it's also like, it's really expensive.
Oh yeah.
It's only getting more and more expensive. Like we would just get something simple from like the pizza place down the street, and it's like, that was $55. Dude, yikes, friends, yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I do have a lot of stuff available to me. I'm just not very good at branching out, particularly when it costs so much.
So you grew up on the East Coast, whereabouts?
Maryland.
All right, okay.
Oh.
Crab country. That's not what they're known for, right?
Crabs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a terrible person. I don't like crabs. But going to the crab feast is fun. It's a nice social
Crab.
event.
No idea.
Do you like Old Bay seasoning at least?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's
That's what all those bottles are back there, man. She's got like 40 bottles of Old Bay.
One of them should be Old Bay.
It's fine if you have more than one. I'm from Vermont originally, and when I go, I have driven back from Vermont with like 12 gallons of maple syrup before.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
You don't know when you're
Either
going
the
to go
corn
back.
syrup in
And
the grocery store, or it's the real maple syrup. Like, yeah, no, can't blame it.
you can't eat that stuff at the grocery. That's just trash. Polluting your body. You can't eat that. Yeah, so I mean, I'll have like dozens of quarts, glass jars,
Mhm.
because that's what you do.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, Mike. Yes, the grade A dark amber, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let's see. So your book is coming out in 2 weeks. Tell us again, what is the title?
It is called The Spirit Well. It is the sequel to The Stray Spirit. They are not standalones, and so I do recommend that you read The Stray Spirit before reading Spiritwell. Stray Spirit, I actually just put the ebook on sale for 99 cents, just in case you're like, oh, I kind of want to get into the series. It's a little bit easier now.
Okay.
You have an audiobook?
No, I have an audiobook for Rivalmost File. I do not have an audiobook for Stray Spirit or Spiritwell. Unfortunately, that's really just, Ed, you're right. Really just because of cost. They're very expensive. I love the audiobook for Rivalmost File, but might have to maybe like crowdfund like the second one or something.
All right.
Now the comments are getting good. I don't want to end it. Can we just read comments? That's normally what my job is during these things anyway.
I think it's the first use of the word lich that we've had in 52 episodes.
Courtesy of Ed. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, well, RK, is there anything we didn't ask you that you wanted to be asked?
I don't think so. No, we covered me yelling about games, me yelling about baking, me yelling about my cat. I mean, yeah, we did great. A+, everybody.
All righty. Well, thank you for being on the show. We have one more guest. Jacqueline Hagan is on, and unless Morgan wants to shock the world and make an announcement, let's wait for a second. Morgan, go ahead, type.
He's holding out for that Rivendell
set. I can get you that Rivendell set.
Yeah, they made the mistake of offering it up there.
So we're going to have to start a GoFundMe for the Rivendell set.
Little Kickstarter.
Maybe we'll mail it to me, and maybe I'll mail it to you one day.
Maybe. We'll see. 50-50.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to work.
A likely story, Morgan.
Gotta go.
Okay, well, RK, thank you for being on the show. Oh, go ahead.
I want to do one thing. This is completely off. And RK, this I know a lot of you probably look at the Beard of Darkness podcast, and I know it's not our job necessarily to promote other podcasts. However, the other day, Beard of Darkness, I don't know how, but he had about an hour and a half with Raymond E. Feist. So go check that out. I caught like the last 20 minutes or so of it. It was fantastic. You can go on his page on the Beard of Darkness YouTube channel and check that out. It's Feist was just fantastic.
And I saw that, and he lives in the LA area, so I'm sure you two are neighbors, right, RK?
Yeah, right. Do you know him?
Oh,
Yeah, you run into him at the
There's only 15 million of you there. Do you know him?
it's a smaller town than you'd expect. Yeah, run into a lot of folks here.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you again. Unless there's another squirrel moment, I think we're going to end it.
No, that was good. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you,
All right.
RK. And now I'm going to end the stream, and it takes a while, so we just all wave awkwardly.